Let's start.
Hello, sports fans.
Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by.
Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Friday edition of the JP Peterson Show. 98 days till the kickoff to the NFL football season. It's Tampa Bay, baby. We really don't care about the NBA Finals that much. We'd much rather talk about football, college football, pro football, Rays. But we'll get to the NBA Finals in a little bit because that was, as expected, a mismatch last night. Welcome into the show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com, Bay Area Modern Medical Center. In our first hour, we thank you guys so much for joining us. Nick Geddes is here. I'm back in studio. Feels weird. I mean, what is this place?
I know. This is the longest I've gone without seeing you in a long time. It's been 7 days.
Has it been 7 days?
It's been 7 days.
Oh, my God. Wow. Well, it's good that I can traverse the world, go cover the Rays in Chicago.
See those experiences.
Yeah, see those experiences. Still be with you people on a daily basis. So, yeah, there'll be different ports of call over the summer coming up. I think I might be emanating from Vegas for the in fact, I am definitely going to the match. Courtesy of my good friend Jason Romano. His company puts on the match.
Who's in the match? I totally missed that.
That is Mahomes and Kelsey versus Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
Oh, so we're just moving away from real golfers.
Yeah, just screw real golfers. We're just going all other golfers, which is fine. Well, first of all, obviously Mahomes can play, and Steph Curry is a scratch golfer. He's damn near a pro anyway. So, yeah, I'm just going for the party anyway. I ain't going for the golf.
I know you are.
Yeah, we'll be there. Probably spend a couple days in North Carolina. I think we have a trip to Hollywood lined up this summer and maybe some other ports of call. We shall see. But no overseas trips as far as I can see in the very near future. So, but it's great to have the technology that we can do that and be all over the world. So that's kind of cool. We're going to get into a discussion I kind of teased yesterday on the Buccaneers and how they make it back to the Super Bowl. Like, what if you were to look into the future, into your crystal ball, what would you see? What would a Super Bowl team look like for the Buccaneers? Who would be the head coach? We'll have some real fun with this. Who would be the quarterback? Do we even know who that quarterback is? What is the pathway right now for the Bucs to return to the Super Bowl? I think it's kind of interesting. Do they have, and here's the big question, do they have the bones, the structure right now in order to make that happen? Or is there going to have to be some incredible serendipity come their way for them to get a franchise quarterback or something like that? So we'll kind of throw around some ideas, and you can start thinking about them in your head. Like, is there, do the Bucs currently have the head coach that's going to take them to the Super Bowl? Quick answer, no. Do they have a quarterback on their roster right now? Quick answer is I don't know, but I don't think so. But there's a lot of other things that have to happen. So we'll get into that discussion a little bit. The Rays start a big series against the Red Sox because every series is a big series, but this one especially, up in Boston. You're going from Wrigley Field to Fenway Park. I mean, that's a nice double dip there. Those are probably the two most. Well, I don't think there's even probably about it. Those are the two oldest parks, the quirkiest. But I don't know if Wrigley's quirky.
You can go ahead and call it my word. You can go ahead and use it.
No, I would never. That's
you go ahead and
not going to emanate from my mouth.
You could say it.
No, you have to
I'll
say it
say
because I won't do it.
We're jumping from one Mickey ballpark to the other before we finally get home to the friendly confines of Tropicana Field. Can't wait. Cannot wait.
Which you absolutely, I don't know what's the great word for this that you mistakenly refer to as
America's ballpark.
Yeah.
And you know,
although
even
then
better,
I did say, yeah, you're right, because it's cheesy, dysfunctional.
You know what's going to be really funny?
Screwed up.
You're gonna love
full of stupid signs.
You're gonna love next week, actually, or the week after rather, when you look at the Rays' schedule coming up. Because after this series against Boston, they come home for a little bit, and then guess the two series on the road after. You want to talk about contrasting ballparks?
Where are we going? The Marlins?
We're going to Oakland. For that dump for 4 games, and then they go to San Diego. So you talk about a contrast of where they're going to be heading here.
It's really like Tropicana Field is horrible for so many reasons, but they've made
It's a
it.
bit extreme.
They've embraced the horror.
If Tropicana Field is horrible, then what is Oakland?
Ugh, horrendous.
Which one's
Hell.
worse?
Oakland is just like the only thing they have better than Tropicana Field is real grass and sunshine. That's it. That is.
They don't maintenance it though.
Yeah, exactly. For years and years, like the bathrooms don't even work.
Did you even see? I guess
Like
they
my
don't. I
apartment
guess
complex.
they don't employ security either. Did you see the
Why
guy?
would they?
It was
There's nobody there.
during
Do they need security there?
15 minutes before.
They don't have any famous players to worry about.
Well, true.
It's like they have security keeping people in. Is it like a police state?
Did you see the clip the
what
other
are we-
day?
what are we talking about?
Like 15 minutes before first pitch, a fan jumps the railing
Yeah.
and takes a whole sprint, a nice stroll around the bases. And he wasn't like sprinting; it was just like a nice little jog around the bases. He's like saying hello to players.
Before
and
anybody
not
realized.
one piece of security like went after this guy. No tasers, nothing. Jumped right back in the stands and sat in a seat.
Well, it is the Bay Area. You can pretty much walk into any shop you want in San Francisco and fill up a duffel bag of whatever you want and just walk out.
On top of that,
So people even felt, well, I guess I could just walk on the field too. Yeah, I don't think they actually have any policemen whatsoever in the Bay Area whatsoever. So you can
on top
you
of
could
that,
probably
little
go
nugget-
out and play second base for half an inning and no one would really care or know the difference.
maybe.
That's pretty good.
On top of that, too, you saw too this whole plan for them to move to Vegas. They're gonna have to play 4 more years in that Coliseum.
Yeah, it's stupid.
4 more years.
Vegas has a really, really nice AAA stadium there already.
They need to overtake that.
Yeah, why not just move there? Move there, spruce it up as best you can. That's what they should do.
Think about that. That's
Seriously.
That's 4 more years of ownership not investing a dime into your team
Or your stadium.
or your stadium. And
Yeah,
then
baseball can't have that. They can't have
no
that.
way.
They can't have that. Well, I mean, why wouldn't you? You'd actually get more fans in that minor league ballpark.
They
in
get
Vegas.
outdrawn by that Vegas team.
Yeah, you would. That's just stupid. Why would you stay in Oakland for a day longer?
Yeah,
It's a much
put
nicer
those
stadium.
fans through all that.
Yeah, what
Goodness
fans?
gracious.
Why should they have any fans? They shouldn't have any fans. The ownership doesn't care about the team.
Not the fans' problem.
The locality doesn't care about the stadium. It's just why would they? So we're in much better position than them. So we'll be fine.
One more thing to set up the show, by the way. Luke Easterling from Athlon Sports is going to join us at 11 o'clock. He wrote a column this morning titled "Why Baker Mayfield's Bucs Can Be Better Than Tom Brady's" from 2022, and he's listed his reasons. He's outlined it, and a lot of it is pretty much verbatim to what we've been talking about on this show.
Yes.
So excited.
Not verbatim like he plagiarized it.
No,
but
no.
Luke is super smart. He's super smart.
He gets it.
He gets it, and he doesn't fall prey to national narratives like many locally here do. He thinks on his own, and he can see what a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but what some people locally here in the know. So, and again, we're not sitting here saying the Bucs are winning the Super Bowl, and neither is Luke. It's just saying that this whole national narrative that because Tom Brady is gone, that the Bucs are going to suck. If you actually watch the tape last year and understand what's happening here, you understand that the dysfunction of last year is the biggest reason this team was not good, and that dysfunction is now, for the most part, gone. And I think, to be fair to Todd Bowles, to me, it was of Todd Bowles' making to some degree because he didn't fire Byron Leftwich, refused to fire him. So you got to, you're the head coach. You got to take the blame for that. And it was clearly dysfunctional on so many levels. But Todd Bowles is probably already saying, well, what are we going to, come in here and make a brand new system? Because the system was so broken. A new coordinator probably wouldn't have made that much difference. But I still would have fired him just because it's accountability. If the rest of the people in your building, and it was clear that Harold Godwin and everybody else was saying, hey, look, we have the plays to call. The offense coordinator's not calling them. And Todd Bowles basically said the same thing in some press conferences because they could no longer beat around the bush. What was clearly the issue is that the offense was ridiculously predictable, completely stale. Everybody knew what was going on, and it wasn't ever going to get any better. And at that point, that's why you had to fire somebody. But I get it. It is what it is, and hopefully he learned from that. And I do think the offense will be better. The offense will be better. The defense, I think, should be better because of, for health reasons, getting Shaq back. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. Logan Hall getting bigger and making more of an impact. Elijah Cansey has to make a big impact if this team is going to be better. Devin White is the big linchpin as well. What is he going to do? Is he going to pout and be immature, or is he going to make his amends to his teammates and come back and ball out and get his money? I would hope it would be the latter, but you don't know. You don't know. And if that's the case, if he's going to be an issue, do you just move on from him and just install Servassier and start building for the future there, which might not be a bad idea. So Luke will be on and join us at 11 o'clock, and we'll chat through this. And if you want to go read his article, did we retweet it? If we didn't, we will.
Yeah, I'll pump it out.
It's also on Athlon Sports if you want to go check that out. All right, so we'll begin because it is the biggest story nationally. Just quickly through last night's Game 1 of the NBA Finals. It's everything I thought it would be. Boring because the Nuggets are just way better than the Heat, and Nikola Jokic is just incredible. He's incredible to watch, and not from a spectacular standpoint, but just from a understanding the game, the ability to pass in close quarters, seeing the game so much faster and better than anybody else does, making everyone else around him. He only attempted 5 shots in the first 3 quarters, and he dominated the game. He dominated the game with his presence. I think he's an underrated defender. How many times the Heat have to change their shots at the rim, I think is something that jumped out at me last night. The Nuggets themselves as a team are just so much bigger than Miami. I don't think Miami can handle their physicality. And the thing about Joker is, and I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Miami missed a lot of open threes. They did. But, Joker didn't even need to take over the game offensively because his other players, Jamal Murray, Porter, everybody else was doing what they should be doing. They're hitting outside shots. They're doing what they need to be doing. The Nuggets defense is excellent. Listen, Miami missed a lot of wide open threes. I'm not saying that's Denver's defense, but if you're going to be missing threes as a defense, what you should do is pack it in. Mm-hmm. Let them shoot until they get hot from the outside. Let them shoot. I don't mind giving up open threes when guys are missing them. And there's no reason you should be out there chasing and opening up, passing lanes in the middle when guys aren't knocking down threes. And if Miami does start knocking down threes, Denver will adjust their defense and we'll see what happens. But Jokic didn't even have to score at the cup, and I feel like he can get his shot anytime he wants against Adebayo and make as many shots as he wants. So that will be a further adjustment if Miami does something to take away his passing lanes. I think they have an answer to anything Miami can throw at him.
Yeah, Jokic to me, selfless superstar. He took 3 shots in the first half. I had to double check that yesterday.
Crazy.
Took 3 shots in the first half. That we made all of them, of course. 10 assists. He runs the point. He is just the unquestioned. He's I know Murray's the point guard, but Jokic is basically the de facto point guard on that team. He runs the whole show. And once again, it's like every night. Does this guy have an off game? Does he ever have an off game?
No, because
and he quietly, I'd argue, put up 27 last night.
Yeah.
Ends up with 27 and 14 and 10. He gets another triple-double, so efficient, gives you 40 minutes. He's hustling. His defense is massive. Who said this guy couldn't play defense?
I don't get that.
His defense, in my opinion, I'm not saying he's an all-world defender or anything, but I think he's a little bit more than competent.
Way more than competent.
Yeah. Whereas I look at the other guy across from him, Bam Adebayo, who's supposed to be one of the better defenders, and I just simply have not seen that from him in the last 2 series.
Well, he just can't. He can't defend Jokic. It's too much.
There's nothing you can do. Remember after Game 1 against the Lakers when they made a little switch? I think it was Hachimura that might have been covering them, and they're like, "Oh, we figured it out. We know how to stop." No, you didn't, no, you don't. There's no stopping Nikola Jokic, and it's because of what I've been saying. He is one of one. He is so unique. There's nothing like him in this league. This is not another slashing guard that you can take him away from the paint, force him to take threes if he's not a good shooter. You can't do anything to stop the guy. I mean, in his distribution skills, it's the best I've ever seen from the center position. And the depth they have on that lineup, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon was like the best player they had in the first quarter. It's like it was a different best player every single quarter, it felt like, for Denver. And for Miami, story of the game, how the mighty fall real quick. Caleb Martin goes from being potentially should have won Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He scored 130 points on 60% shooting in that 7-game series, one of 6 players ever to do that, by the way.
Right.
And all the other guys are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And he comes back yesterday and records 3 points, 1 of 7 from the field. Max Strus, 0 for 10. Who let this man shoot 9 threes yesterday and make none of them?
The Nuggets.
So there you go.
They're like, yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah.
Just keep
there you
shooting.
go. Those guys played a combined 46 minutes last night
Yeah.
and went 3 points and 1 of 17 from the field. There you go.
Well,
Story of the game for Miami.
And there is some hope on the horizon. Tyler Hero is expected to play in Game 2 on Sunday. And again, you can sit there and say, well, they missed all these open threes. Well, they were allowing them to take them because they were missing them. I wondered, and I don't know if anybody's asked this question. At altitude, the golf ball flies 10% farther. And I know that that's outside, and it's more controlled inside, but it's still 5,200 feet. It's a mile high. Does the basketball cut through the air easier in that arena? Therefore, because if your shot's off by a smidge, even if it's off by 3 to 5% in terms of depth, right? It's going to miss. I wonder if there's any data out there as far as shooting percentages for teams that come up to that altitude, especially 3-point shooting teams. I don't know if anybody's ever done. I'm sure there's a nerd out there somewhere that has done this type of data. But I just wondered, does that affect your shot? Because it affects how a golf ball, like you have to use different clubs at altitude than in golf than you do at sea level. So I'm just wondering if that throws their shot. Whatever, Miami was no good from deep. So, I think Miami does have the fortitude, and these games are so spread out that they can get, they'll probably be more used to the altitude in Game 2, kind of like the Lightning were when they played up in Colorado. So I think Game 2 could be a much more competitive game because last night's was not.
Well, see, I actually went into last night thinking maybe that was going to be Miami's best chance to steal a game because Denver had a 9-day layoff. And I think, like, in the playoffs, and this kind of goes into, like, the NHL as well, which starts tomorrow, the finals, where I think Florida might struggle or at least I think Florida could struggle because they have a long layoff now.
Yeah.
Whereas they've been so hot, it's like, okay, now we sit for a little bit, and we got to digest coming off this big high. Can we keep that going now, or is this layoff going to affect us? I thought potentially maybe that could have happened to Denver last night, and Miami could take advantage of the momentum that they were carrying in. But momentum. Some people will tell you it exists. Some people will tell you that once a series ends, it's over. Or some will tell you right after a game, it's over from there, right?
Yeah, I did see a number on this, Nicky numbers, that teams with like 7 days rest or more going into the finals were 8-1 in Game 1.
8-1, huh?
8-1 in Game 1. So the rest is more important than the rust when it comes to the NBA. At least that's what the data shows us. Every series is different. But I thought to some degree that could be because 9 days is a long time.
It is.
To not play a game. But they were ready. But I think this is why Denver is so consistently good. Because if their outside shooting is not there, then Jokic can take over in the paint. Aaron Gordon can take over in the play. Porter can take over. And they have varied games. If they can beat you from the outside with Jamal Murray and some of the other shooters that they have. They can, Caldwell Pope, they can beat you in so many different ways. They're varied. And if one thing is not working, and then you have a conductor of the orchestra, so to speak, in Jokic, who is, maybe the best playmaker to ever play the game. And I think, and that's saying something when you talk about, the Magic Johnsons and the Steve Nashes and the Bob Cousy's and the John Stocktons of the world. I mean, he's just a different type of playmaker that we've never seen before. I think of, Arvydas Sabonis was probably a little bit before your time. But he was as close to Jokic as I've ever seen. Just a humongous big body, varied inside game, great understanding of the game, tremendous passer. he was amazing.
And
But Jokic just takes it to another level.
Yeah, and I've been trying to figure out, where I put this guy in like an historical context because the center position is just loaded with.
Let it breathe.
What do you mean, let it breathe?
Let it breathe. We don't have to do that. He's 5 years in, right?
He's more than 5 years in.
5 years.
He's about 7. He's 7 years in.
Okay, 5 years of being a factor in this league. I think the first couple of years we didn't really. Since he understood how to figured out this game, as what the 41st overall pick.
He was infamously drafted during a Taco Bell commercial.
How appropriate. How appropriate. Dong. Yeah, that's it's amazing how we never saw this coming. And they were playing some of the clips of him when he was coming out. And he was a big, gangly, awkward dude. And he has developed into just this ridiculously special player. And it is a great study in how to win a championship because nobody saw this coming.
And if he wins, he gets into my superstar tier. I talked about this week because I had this discussion this week after the Celtics lost the series because everybody loves to just call Jason Tatum a superstar. It's like if you score 25 points a game, you automatically recall you a superstar.
Right.
And I flat out disagree with that. I said that there's 5 superstars that are in the NBA over the course of their career achievements. That was my opinion on that.
Okay.
And I said that was LeBron, Steph, KD, Giannis, and Kawhi. Those were my 5 superstars of the NBA for a career. And I got pushed back for putting Kawhi in there, but in my opinion, he cemented his legacy 4 years ago with what he did in Toronto. I don't really care what he does for the rest of his career. Jokic wins this title, he is superstar number 6. And conversely, if Jimmy Butler wins a title, he will be superstar number 6. And I don't care if anybody pushes back on that.
Because it's about winning.
It's about winning.
It's about winning.
And those two guys, for what they've done in this postseason, to me, they're in a battle of who's going to get into my superstar tier. And ultimately, I think it's going to be Nikola Jokic. I know you're telling me to let it breathe a little bit on his career.
Yeah, it's 8 years in. He's 8 years
It's 8 years in, but my goodness. And that's the scary thing. What is he, 28 years old?
I was trying to see that. 28.
28 years old with a core that's going nowhere. I don't think Denver's done winning after this season by any stretch of the imagination.
He's officially listed at 6'11", 284. The dad bod, god bod, was that what they call him?
Is that a dad bod? That's just full on, like, I don't want to use the word.
What?
Fat.
You think he's fat?
No, he's not fat. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to use the word fat, but I wouldn't call it dad bod. It's somewhere in the middle of those.
I don't know if dad's 6'11", 285.
That's what I'm saying.
So this year he averaged 24 points, 11.8 rebounds, and almost 10 assists a game. So he almost averaged a triple-double. He's at 9.8 assists, and that was in the regular season. And at 28 years old, I think he probably has, 5 to 7 more years of his prime?
Yeah.
The way he plays the game, 5 to 7 more years of prime. How many more championships can Denver win? I mean, it's tough. I mean, I don't want to start. And they haven't won one yet.
It's a hard discussion.
They haven't won one yet.
How many teams have we done this with before? They come along and we're all like, they're going to win titles for years to come. And then what happens? They win 0 or they win 1.
Yeah.
So it's hard I'm just saying they're going to be in contention for it for the next 5 to 7 years.
Can I just ask you one question here?
Go ahead.
How ridiculous do the NBA writers look right now?
What do you mean?
Giving Joel Embiid the MVP.
Oh,
how ridiculous do they look?
It's the biggest farce I think I've seen in MVP voting.
You all should be ashamed of yourselves. You should be ashamed of yourselves for what you did. Stole an MVP from this man.
It's up there with Steve Nash winning back-to-back MVPs for having just normal point guard numbers while Kobe's dropping like 35 a game in a season. It's up there with that.
Yeah, I saw Steve Nash winning one. I'm like, let's give him a nod for the just ridiculous
But
numbers
2?
he's putting up. And then I'm like, 2? I don't know about all that. But they should just be completely ashamed of themselves at this point because
it's voter fatigue.
Yeah,
that's
what it is.
It's the reason why LeBron hasn't won an MVP in like 11 years.
It's the reason Aaron
because
Judge
they got so fatigued.
Won the MVP last year, most valuable player last year. Is Shohei Ohtani fatigue. You can't argue if you're a dominant pitcher and a dominant
Ohtani
hitter.
was not the MVP last year. I got news for you.
He should be every year. As long as he plays a full season and starts 25 games and hits the way he hits, just give it to him. Just give it to him. He's 2 players in one.
Just screw everybody else, right?
Sorry. You're just 2 players.
Judge is on pace to hit 63 this year.
I don't care.
But nah, screw it.
I don't care. It also hurts Ohtani that the team just can't win. Like, it's so bad. Like, how can you not?
Well, they're 30 and 28.
They're better this year, but I mean, Jiminy Christmas, you got to figure out a way with those 2 players right there to do something to be competitive in baseball, for God's sakes. All right, some of the comments coming in here, and then we'll move on to the Bucs. We do talk NBA here, but rarely, and only during the finals. R.J. Martin, you guys are absolutely taking mushrooms. America's ballpark. Well, yeah, like I said, just completely dysfunctional and broken down. I heard anybody over 120 pounds had a hard time squeezing into a seat in Fenway. They're small. That's a beautiful thing about Wrigley. Wrigley has been completely redone. They kept all the old world charm, but it has all the amenities of a new stadium. That's the beauty. That's how you do it. And they've built up all that stuff around it and even underneath it. The bathrooms. Oh, my God, the bathrooms at Wrigley? Oh, geez, it's like a 5-star hotel. The beautiful woodworking, and oh my God, it's fantastic.
You don't mean you don't mind? You think that's an upgrade over the Trop, which doesn't have the dividers over him?
No, yes, I think that's a little bit. Yes, bad for A's fans. I've been tugging around for decades. Now the owner is raising a few eyebrows in Vegas too. They want to build a retractable roof stadium on just 9 acres. And the whole financing of the A's thing is a little crazy. And I don't want to do a whole bunch of stadium talk here, but there was in talking about the A's stadium and the Rays, there was a graph that showed the public money that was used to buy to build stadiums over the last 15 years. It started 15 years ago was still at like 85%, and now it's gone to like 23%. I think was one of the later ones. I think the public money for the Brave Stadium was like 58%. But it's definitely trending more towards half and half, which is what it should be here, and which it may be in Vegas as well. Who do we have here? Nick. Is this a new Nick? New Nick? Is this new Nick? Oh, this is new Nick. Yeah, okay, good. Our new intern. Looking like the A's management may screw up this move for the sake of news and laughs that we'll have to have a result. I hope they do fail. You hope they fail in their new stadium? I want to get them to Vegas so we can get moving all the way around. And that's one of the markets that will be taken up. Never know that Baker take us to the Super Bowl this year. I mean, that's.
I love your optimism.
That's far-fetched, Bucs, Rays, Bolts. But hey, listen, nobody had the Eagles in the Super Bowl last year either, did they? Nope, they sure
I
didn't.
think I was close, but anyway.
Were you? 80% of the people in Las Vegas don't favor the new spending bill that has to be passed by Monday when the legislature session ends, or else it's back to the drawing board. Yeah, the thing about that is nobody cares what the people think anymore. So it's just pretty much corruption central anywhere you go. So if the right people get paid off, they'll get it done. Richie P says Jokic is a beast. Shaq never gives flowers to big men. Nothing personal. He is just doing what it was done to him by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He said he gave Jokic his flowers last night. Well, there you go. I think that's a great comment, really.
Yeah, if you get endorsed by Shaq, who loves to not rip on the current NBA players for things, but he keeps it real. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But he definitely has given his flower, and everybody's given their flowers to Nikola Jokic now. It's so funny to me. Everybody's giving him his flowers, but.
Well, it just goes to show you that nobody pays attention to the NBA during the regular season.
Like
nobody.
Well, in my opinion, it goes to the networks. It's the network's fault.
That's true too.
The people that go on ESPN now and FS1 and all and try to, give their flowers to Jokic, understand that you are the singular reason why that the Nuggets were not talked about at all through the regular season, even though they were the best team wire to wire. Yep. It's your fault.
Yeah.
It's still your fault because I'm pretty sure I still see segments talking about LeBron James.
Yeah.
And we're asking Mike Malone questions 9 days after beating the Lakers or a series after beating the Lakers. He was still being asked questions about the Lakers, and he was like, "I'm done talking about them." Why are we? But that's what the media does.
Yeah.
And then they say, the line they love to use is
mostly ESPN.
The line they love to use then, the writers and the people that cover the league. Well, they're just not a fun team to write about. That's the line they use.
Do some work. Do some work.
I thought that was your job, you know?
Yeah. Do some work. Make it interesting. They're not fun to what does that even mean? They're not fun to write about because they don't say stupid crap. They don't do stupid stuff, so they're not fun to write about. Okay, I guess if that's your definition of it, yeah. Richie P says that he don't have an answer for Aaron Gordon. That's true.
Yeah. Who would have thought the Magic's Aaron Gordon would have gone Charles Barkley last night?
Yeah. How about that?
You know, everybody's bringing that out. By the way, that Aaron Gordon, like, oh, he I think he even put a tweet about something about situations and things like that, and it kind of was perceived as a shot at the Magic or for whatever. I'm here to tell you right now, I watched a lot of Magic games, and obviously because I'm a fan, Aaron Gordon was supposed to be the leader of that franchise, and they could not get out of first gear with Aaron Gordon. Okay, he's a fourth or fifth option. Yeah, it's easy to stand out when you're the fourth or fifth option and you're not the focal point. On the Magic, we asked you to be the number one guy, and you were nowhere closer, bud.
Yeah,
you were nowhere near that. So I know a lot of people are bringing that up all the time, but this is not anywhere near close to the situation that he had in Orlando.
I think it goes back to Jokic, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Everybody better.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But is Aaron Gordon not a good player? No, he's a very good player.
He's a good player.
He's a very good player, but if used correctly, and understands his role and stays within his role. Nuggets will sweep. Nah, the NBA won't let that happen. It'll be a gentleman's sweep. It'll be Nuggets in 5. I agree with you, Nick. Tatum is no superstar. He is at best Scottie Pippen-ish. I mean, it's hard to argue.
They don't really have identical games. That's why it's hard for that comparison. I think for that comparison alone, it's hard because they just don't have identical games at all.
Is it fair to say that the West is just so much better that giving Boston all these flowers, because what is they've gone to this finals 3 times? Boston?
They've gone to the conference finals 3 or 4 times in the past 5-6 years
with this group.
Yeah,
and everybody's like, well, you got to keep them together because they're getting there. They're getting there. They might be getting there because the East is not that good. I mean, who's been really good in the East?
I mean, weren't the Knicks the 5 seed in the East?
But they're,
in all respect to them, with Jalen Brunson as the best player.
The Heat won the East. Come on, without Tyler Hero.
And the Heat were down with 2 minutes left to go in the play-in game against Chicago.
Yes.
And this would have never even happened.
So it tells me, you may be looking at Boston and saying, well, look what they've done. I'm like, well, that's because everybody else has been terrible in the East for the most part over the last few years. Who's been good? Would you say this Miami Heat team is great? No.
Yeah, it's like if you put like the Mavericks.
The Miami Heat are here because they work harder and they got better coaching than the other teams. They're not nearly as talented as any of them. They're going to get embarrassed in this.
We're on that track, aren't we?
Right. Yeah. Do you think Ja Morant's going to get suspended for a whole season?
I definitely want to talk about that later because did you see Silver's comments yesterday about that?
Well, I just saw that he said he's going to announce it after the NBA Finals and that they found a lot more than they thought they would or something like that. There was once investigated, there was a lot there. Yeah. I think was the actual quote.
Yeah, I got some comments on this whole timing of this. It's interesting to me.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, you want me to do it now?
Yeah, well, I don't want to come back to the NBA because we've done
true.
30 minutes on it almost.
That's true. We got to wrap it up when we can. No, I just think it's kind of funny that he announces this before the finals start because he doesn't want it to be a distraction if he announces it now. Like, the league wants to focus on the games and the finals, but you basically aired out, like, he put out the best tease ever for this. So we all want to know, okay, what's the punishment going to be? And I feel like by doing what he did, well, now I can't stop focusing on at least me, that's just me. Like, now I really want to know what the punishment is. And so I'm automatically thinking about both. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like when your girlfriend or your wife says, I won't tell you.
That's exactly what it was.
You got to tell me.
That's exactly what it is.
No, you got to. I'll tell you later.
It's
tell me now.
It's like you didn't even need to in my opinion, you should just left it alone and just come out with it after the finals. It would have been understood. But because he put it out there like right before tip-off, well, now I'm automatically thinking, okay, what's he going to do here?
Right.
And he sounds like he's going to lay the law down on this one. And he thought 8 games was going to send a message, which clearly that didn't really – is 8 games really that deep, honestly?
No.
8 games and spend a week in Florida at training or whatever. No. It's kind of a joke.
It's a sprained ankle.
Like, this guy, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the whole season. Now, we have to see what this – we obviously don't know. We're not going to know for the next 2 weeks what he found in this investigation. But the way he framed it, doesn't it sound like that they're going to be throwing the book at Ja Morant? That's the way it kind of sounds like.
Yeah, it does. I don't think it'll be a whole season, though. I think it'll be half a season. Because in the
even
end,
half a season, that's very significant.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they've got to send a message. It's clearly he's not getting it. And I hate to say this, but I don't think it's going to make any difference. I think this is going to end poorly. I think this dude is just wired differently, and I just hate to say it. I think it's just going to end with the people that he hangs around with and continues to hang around with. It's just
he's 23 years old. It's like I'm trying to cut him some slack, but as you've mentioned and other people have said it, we're on gun incident number 7, and you're only 23.
Yeah, it's not going to end. I've seen this story many times, and it's not going to end well. And and it's like I've said before, it was like with AB as well. You just hope he doesn't take a bunch of people with him. It's gotten to that point. You just don't want to see tragedy. But he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. If he hasn't gotten it by now, I don't think another half a season is going to help him. And that's so sad because he's such an unbelievable player to watch.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of my favorite players to watch.
He's like this generation's like. He reminds me of Russell Westbrook, like in his prime.
Yeah.
He really does.
But with a better, I think he's better in the clutch, number one, and I think he's a better shooter than.
Yeah, but I think just in terms of like when Russell Westbrook was in
crazy
OKC,
athleticism.
I was like, man, I'd pay a ticket to go watch him play.
Crazy athleticism and energy.
Yeah.
I mean, every night you're gonna get it all. Yeah, and it's a shame. It's a shame. Like I don't know, and it has nothing to do with money or situation or anything. It's just like the dude is wired differently, and he, maybe just there are some people that don't want to be in the spotlight and are forced into the spotlight, and they're just not equipped to handle it, and they have self-destructive behavior because. Josh Freeman, in my opinion, was a guy like this. Had all the talent in the world, but you could just sense when you talked to him that he was trying to be somebody that he was not. He didn't want to be a superstar because he didn't want all the spotlight on him because he was doing stuff that he would rather do in private. When he was out hanging out with all the those kind of people that he didn't want people knowing that stuff. And so you do self-destructive things and you piss away a great career. And that's sad, but, it's their life and they can live it the way they want to live it. There'll be other basketball players and great players to come along that we should be talking about because Ja Morant at this point doesn't deserve the attention. So we'll see. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back on the other side. We're going to get into some Bucs talk here, and Luke Easterling of Athlon Sports is going to join us at 11 o'clock. He has penned an article why the Baker Bucs will be better than the Brady Bucs. And yes, who's Jeremy Lowe? I will go in on TB12 today, whatever the hell that means. All right, thanks to Jeeves Law Group, Bay Area Modern Medical Center for sponsoring us the first hour. Back in 3. Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com.
During COVID, over 1.7 million people were added to the Florida Medicaid rolls, but as of April 1st, 2023, most of these people may not be eligible for the Medicaid coverage and will lose their health plan. If you have been notified you are losing your coverage, don't freak out. It's very likely you can apply for a federal subsidy under the Affordable Care Act. Just call 877-652-0244. Our representatives will walk you through the whole process, get some basic information on your income, number of kids, and then they'll find a plan that best fits your needs. In fact, with the new laws, 90% of Americans qualify for reduced or free health care. You can select great plans like Florida Blue, that's my carrier, love them, paying $800 left after making the call. 877-652-0244. Our highly trained professionals know all the intricacies of the new laws. They will do all the work. You save tons of money. So if you're being dropped from Medicaid, fear not. Call 877-652-0244. Get real health insurance, free doctor visits, free blood work, no deductibles. 877-652-0244.
Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa. And for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Coming back at you.
Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here on this Football Friday. We can make it a Football Friday because we can talk about football anytime we damn well please, which is what we're going to do. So, yeah, it's Football Friday. I don't have to wait till football season. Nobody's telling me when I can talk about football. We're doing it.
Nobody's telling you a damn thing to do.
That's right.
It's your show.
The JP Peterson Show. That's right.
Isn't this, though, like, this lasts like 100 days? Isn't this, like, the hardest part to get through?
Yeah.
It really is.
Summertime is. But I do enjoy the different sports that we do get to talk about because we don't talk about the NBA a lot. And I do love basketball. I've always loved basketball. It was my favorite sport to play.
I'll say I've loved basketball more this year than I have in recent years.
Why?
I've watched more this year than I have in recent years.
Why?
Because I love the fact that we're seeing a more balanced NBA,
Yeah. Yes.
and we're not seeing the super team era seems
Is
to be
over.
gone
Yes.
because the teams that are trying to win that way aren't winning anymore.
Right.
And I enjoy seeing a team like Denver and a team like Miami break through.
And the Warriors, too. The Warriors have
Yeah.
changed basketball, and I love the way they play. They were always a fun part. And now they're getting, like, a little tired to watch. So I like the Nuggets are my new Warriors. I love watching the Nuggets play. Love it. Love, 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 love. Love watching the Nuggets play. So, yeah. But it's. I think it's nice that we get to talk about some other things, which we are going to talk about today. The FSU women's softball team, by the way, Kat Sandercock last night again with another shutout
Does
as
she
they
pitch
win
every
8
game?
Yeah, well, yeah, they hope so. Yeah, she can if she can. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, they won 8-0 last night over Oklahoma State. It was a beatdown.
They run ruled them.
Yes, they did. Is that a run rule?
They run ruled them, yeah.
Did they?
Well, they called it early, yeah.
Well, I hope so. It's
The
going
mercy
deep into
rule.
the night.
Mercy rule.
Yeah, they had two weather delays on that one. So I was hoping to watch the whole game before the the Nuggets game got going, but actually ended up watching it afterwards. So
Yeah. To be honest, softball's a sensitive subject for me today.
Oh, that's right. Did we have a little bit of a Billy Buckner moment last night?
We had a couple.
Two? It's hard to have two.
You remember how I told
You
you?
can only lose the game once.
Remember how I told you? I think I said this the other day. Like when you make a bad play or something, or you're struggling, the ball just seems to find you.
Yeah.
So I play second in softball. Most of the time, everybody's hitting righty, and so everything's going the other way.
Right.
So for the most part, I just had to, turn a few double plays or just whatever. That's it for the first 2
You
games.
hide your worst defender at second and right field.
That's a way to put it.
Yeah.
So anyway, what happened this game? I had about 6 grounders come my way. And these things were blistered, by the way. So first one comes, I make the play. Throw it to first, out. So I'm good.
Right.
Second one, it kind of goes to my backhand, and I hate backhands.
Tough play.
Goes off my glove and into the outfield,
Yep.
but it was hit really hard.
Okay.
Third one, routine grounder, get to my crouch position right under the glove.
Oh.
And I just was like, sunk my head, and it allowed the inning to continue, and the next guy hit a 3-run bomb.
A 2-out error leading to a 3-run bomb.
Oh, yeah.
So now you're starting to get the side eye.
Later in the game.
From a couple of your teammates that take it very seriously.
Later in the game.
You know who you are.
Here comes a chopper, and it's a hard chopper, right? And we talked about that. Those choppers are hard to play.
Yeah.
And it's on my backhand again, and I
Ooh,
don't
tough
think
play.
I can get it with my backhand. It's still like in the air kinda. So I stuck my right hand out to try to get it. Now it was raining during the game. I'm telling you right now, if it wasn't raining, I'm palming that thing and getting the guy at second. I almost picked it out of midair with the bare hand, but I did not. But I knocked it down, whatever. But the runner was safe, obviously, because I didn't get it completely. So that's there. And then later in that inning, ground ball.
We're still in the same inning?
Oh, this is the same inning now.
Oh, my God.
I just cannot make a play. Later in that inning, ground ball to short. I go to second to try to turn 2. The process was perfect, right? Caught, step in front, throw to first, had plenty of time, and that doomed me. I tried to just lob one over there.
Oh, yeah.
And
The D-cell.
right into the ground.
The D-cell.
It
yeah.
wasn't one of those that made it easy on my first baseman to pick, and the inning continued, and they scored 2 more runs in the inning.
Golly.
So I single-handedly probably accounted for 5 runs against, and we lost 14-11.
Wow.
I had a bad night in the infield.
How were you received by your teammates?
No, I mean everybody. I kind of just had this look on my face, and I threw my glove against the fence when I got back. I was just standing there with my
Beside yourself.
hand on my hips and just but guys were coming up and we're good. Because I contributed hitting.
Yeah.
I didn't have a bad night at the dish or anything like that, but
It's a bad feeling.
it was a bad feeling. And the
It's a
entire
bad
way home,
feeling.
I'm driving, and Casey and Riley come with me all the time now to the games. And she's like, "Did you enjoy that you got to play today?" And I'm just sitting there driving the entire time. I'm like, I was mad. I was really mad with my performance yesterday. Not a great feeling.
Gotta let it go, man. We gotta let it go. Get to that first pitcher of beer, that first wing. It's after that, it's over. It's over. Softball, babe.
We
Gotta move on.
are 0-3.
Ooh, wow. My old man team could probably beat you guys.
Yeah,
I
and
could
we're-
rekindle. What if we do a special 3-game series where I get the OGs together for one 3-game series and we play you guys?
You
for the
probably will
summer.
beat us
We
because
could-
you have
we could
you
live
all,
stream
you all have that dad.
You guys want to see that?
You guys
wanna
all
see a live stream of the OGs versus the kids?
Y'all have that dad strength, so you'll beat us. That's what we played. We played a bunch of team of dads yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And they hit 7 home runs.
Oh yeah, baby. We got power. We come loaded. I mean, and loaded. Yeah. I mean, especially if it's a 9:00 game, we are loaded. So yeah, that could be fun. We could raise money for charity if 6 people show up.
We're 0-3 and we're in a relegation battle. That's how this works. If you don't finish in the top part of the league, you get bumped down to the league underneath.
Oh wow.
So not great.
No, not for you. You guys might need to Will it get to the point where the general manager is starting to look for new talent?
That
gets awkward.
You might have to start with me.
It gets awkward. First guy to go. Richie P wants to see it. Richie P wants to see it. All right, we're quickly coming up on Luke Easterling, so we could probably get him involved in this little exercise that we're doing. So, giving him an assignment, and maybe he'll write an article about this. So yesterday we were talking a little bit about this. Is like if you're projecting, where the Bucs go from here, what do they need to find? Are there any bones right now on this team that you can project to future years and say this is what this team needs to win a Super Bowl? Do they have the head coach? Do they have the quarterback now? Blah, 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 blah. So I thought that would be a very interesting thing. We went through some of the machinations yesterday, and maybe I kind of dove into it a little bit more. And I'll say this, for the Bucs, I think they have some good bones, but I'm here to say that they are going to need some serendipity in the next couple of years in the draft in order for them to make it back to the Super Bowl. And I'll say, let's say in a 3-year time frame. What do you think that the Bucs do they have here now? I will say, first and foremost, I do not think Todd Bowles is the head coach that's going to get them there.
Correct.
Do I know who that next head coach is? No, I don't. I don't know because the coaching market changes so quickly, and people stand out and people fall on their face and et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know who that coach is right now.
I think it's going to be some young,
I do
upcoming
too.
offensive coordinator.
I would agree with that. I think we will both say that the what do we call this? The game plan to a Super Bowl.
The battle plan.
Yeah, battle plan. That's Pewter Report. So we'll go with game plan to the Super Bowl.
We'll stay boring.
Yeah, to Super Bowl. If we come up with something better, we will. So I think the head coach is a yet to be named young OC. Not in college. He is a young OC up and coming that is going to be the next head coach. The quarterback. Do we have the quarterback?
No.
I think there is a chance, and I'll put it at 15%. I'll put it, and could it be, I'll throw this out, could Dave Canales, because I think that guy is head coach material. I think he's got a charisma to him. He's got a work ethic to him, an authenticity to him that is rare. But I don't know how good of an offensive mind he is, or offensive coach. We'll see. But my first blush is like that he could be a future head coach, and I don't know if he is our future head coach. That's rare that you elevate a guy from an OC position that then becomes.
Well, this franchise
Super
has
Bowl
done
head
it.
coach.
Has done it before with Dirk Cutter.
Right.
We saw how that worked out.
Yeah, didn't work out. Yeah, and I thought Dirk was going to be. I thought Dirk was going to be a good head coach.
Well, he gave us fool's gold for a year.
Yeah, but he, and this is great human being, by the way, really, really good dude. And I don't know if he would ever admit to this, but he seemed to become a little bit. The head coach pixie dust got to him. He changed the way. When he became the head coach, he started operating differently. He was very paranoid of the media suddenly. And I don't know. He was worried about stuff that was going on in the media and what was getting out in the media. That when you hear coaches start doing that, folks, they are focused on the wrong thing. They are completely focused. Great coaches don't care about that stuff. They don't give a rip because it's a non-factor. So that was weird. So I don't know. I don't think it's him, but it might be him. I don't know. We'll see. But I think it's going to be a young coordinator that comes in and gives a little juice to this team, kind of a Sean McVay type. That would be my guess. And I don't think it's Kyle Trask, but I think it could be Baker Mayfield. He's a number one. He's a number one overall pick. See, when everybody goes, ugh, like I was watching some tape of him with the Rams last year. This dude has all the physical skills of many of the quarterbacks in this league that you would say could win a Super Bowl. Many of them. And he's been with Cleveland, okay, which was a tire fire, and he still took them to the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Carolina with Matt Rule. I mean, you're going to say that was Baker Mayfield's fault? He finally got with a good coach in Sean McVay, and what happened? He had two fourth quarter
Yeah, a lot
drives.
of it's situation, maybe.
Oh, situational, yeah. So I did this whole, Baker Mayfield is a turd thing. I don't get it. I mean,
I'm not saying he's that.
I don't think he's had an opportunity to
think,
show what he can do.
I just think he's a middle of the road. Just my opinion. I think he's a middle of the road quarterback. That's just me.
Yeah.
That's just me. I'll tell you this, and I've been saying this. I think the Bucs' best bet to get back into Super Bowl contention, playoff contention, year in and year out, is eventually they're going to have to find a quarterback in the draft, and they're going to have to hit on that.
Yeah.
So when you put this 3 to 4 year timeline together, I have to start looking in the college ranks, and not of the prospects that are coming out this year necessarily, because I just don't think the Bucs are going to be bad enough to get one of the top guys.
Right.
That's just me.
Right.
2 years after that, I will throw the name Arch Manning at you if he does what he's expected to do at Texas. I'll throw the Malachi Nelson out there if he's going to do what he's supposed to do at USC.
Yeah, these are all long shots.
And
They're all every one of these quarterbacks is long shot.
They're
by the
long
way,
shots. I'm just throwing out the guys.
Only one guy wins it every year. And
I'm just throwing
it's gonna
out
be Pat Mahomes every other year for the next 5.
I know that. I'm just throwing out. I'm throwing out the top prospects that are just entering college or entering college in the next year. You got to talk about the Raiola kid who's going to Georgia, right?
What about Michael Penix Jr.?
Yeah, I'm good on that. I don't think lefties
drafted by the hometown team becomes a Super Bowl quarterback.
I don't think left-handed quarterbacks. I just can't get on board.
Yeah,
can't get on board. No, I think it's going to be in that timeline. I'm thinking in the next 2 drafts to 3 drafts, they're going to have to find a quarterback in the first round that they can get, one of those upper guys that comes out. I'm just throwing those 3 names. I have no idea how those guys are going to turn out in college, but we're all assuming that they're going to hit, right? It could be one of those guys. It could be another guy. Whatever it is, they have to get a quarterback in the draft, and they have to do something they've never done before as a franchise, and that is properly develop him and have them hit.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot to ask. It's hard to do. It's hard to do in this league. So if you go through the rest of the league, and you could say there are some bones here. They have 2, what I would say, young corners, and Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis III. These guys will have to develop into ball hawks of some sort. Antoine Winfield, and it's going to have to develop into an all-pro safety. Because if you look at the Bucs Super Bowl teams, the 2 Super Bowl teams, both of them had, I'm remembering the numbers right, 10 and 11 Pro Bowlers. So you got to get up to and I think to win a Super Bowl, and they're kind of, what comes first, the votes to the Pro Bowl or, all pro or winning, it's one of those chicken and egg things. But I think you do have to have 9 to 11, at least 9 to 11 players that are what I would call the difference makers. Like they're going to win 85% of their matchups on the field. They're going to win. They're going to get a plus grade 85%, 75 to 85% of the time. Who are those guys on this team right now? Right. Okay. Vita Vea, obviously. And to me, in my game plan, Kalijah Kancey has to become a Pro Bowler.
Correct.
He has to become Aaron Donald-like. Okay, Winfield has to become those. Those 2 corners have to be more ball hawks. They've got to take the ball away. Now, the one thing we're really missing right now is that edge rusher. Because Shaq Barrett could be that guy this year, but he's 30 years old.
Yeah.
He's not going to be part of this game plan when we win the Super Bowl. I don't think he could be, but that's a bit of a stretch.
I could tell you the players that won't be around by the time we get to this point, if we get to this point. Shaq's one of them.
Yeah.
Levante Davidson, one of them.
Obviously.
Mike Evans is one of them.
Most likely.
And Ryan Jensen.
Yeah, Mike Evans would still have to be great at 34.
So
he could be a role player.
I would argue that 4 of the core kind of 12 guys you have on this team right now will not be a part of the next great Bucs team.
Right.
I will go on the hunch to say that.
I would agree.
Right now.
Yep.
But even you flip over to the offensive side, Rashad White, we think could be in there.
Has to be in the next 5 years. Has to be a top 5 to 7 producing running back in the receiving and ground game.
Wirfs is there.
Wirfs is there.
Depending on if Chris Godwin looks like the old Chris Godwin, throw him in there.
He's going to be a key factor. He would have to be a key factor.
And then they've invested a lot in this offensive line, especially at the guard position, and Gedeke, Cody Mauk. Some of these guys, preferably you want both to hit.
Yeah.
But even if you get one to hit, that'd be perfect. Throw Hainsey in there.
Yep.
that's kind of the things that I think it's contingent on.
And by the way, we're not saying these things are going to happen. We're saying that this is what has to happen. And you start saying to yourself, "Wow, that's a lot."
Yeah.
It's a lot. It is, and it is a lot. And they have to hit on some guys in the 3rd to 5th to 6th round. Like, and could Trey Palmer be a guy that ascends to be a number 1 receiver?
It's a long shot.
It's a long
He's a
shot.
6th-round pick.
But he could be a guy that, is a deep threat and could get you 800 to 1,100 yards. They're going to need to find one, and have they found it? Is Servassier Dennis going to become a great player? And, do the Bucs end up trading Devin White for a 2nd and 4th round pick? Servassier Dennis coming in and playing really well at that position, and then them turning that 2nd round pick into another really good player. These are the things that have to happen for you to win a Super Bowl. It's so freaking hard, but you've got to have those middle round guys that become really good players. Yaya Diaby is going to need to become that guy coming off the edge, because we don't have anybody. I'm telling you, JTS is not the guy. He's not the guy.
I don't think so.
And I'm not saying Yaya Diaby is. I will say this. He's got the frame to be and the athleticism to be. He does. So that's something that he does have that could turn him into a dominant outside pass rusher, especially with the 2 interior guys you have. So that's something that needs to happen. Is it going to happen? I don't know. We'll see. So I think on both sides of the ball, that's where we're at right now. Those are a lot of things that have to happen, and there's probably 3 or 4 guys that are still in college that the Bucs are going to have to draft, that are going to have to become Pro Bowlers or be one of those special guys that we don't have now.
And will even Jason Licht be the GM?
I don't know.
I would argue he's been here now for a decade?
Yeah.
I'd already argue he's reached a part. Most GMs don't get a decade. Most GMs don't.
Yeah.
So, fair question there.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Luke Easterling's going to join us from Athlon Sports. Has covered the Bucs for a long time, so we will chat with him. He penned an article today about how Baker's Bucs can be better than Brady's Bucs, and we wholeheartedly agree. So we will chat with him when we come back, right here on the JP Peterson Show. This is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BA. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz, the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation. Home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com.
Let's go. Right now. Back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here on this Football Friday. We are so dubbing it because we miss football so much that we could just do it because we can. We're brought to you by the Italiano Insurance, the Golden Diamond Source, and Extravaganza Productions. If you have a charity event coming up or a meeting and you need some AV equipment, you need it all set up with sound and lights and all that good stuff, or just want to make it really crazy fun, the folks at Extravaganza Productions, Paul Thomason and his group over there, do an amazing job. They have a warehouse full of props that you cannot believe, from a Game of Thrones throne to huge palm trees, whatever you need. You want to make your party special, your meeting special, or just make it super, super professional. They are the folks to do it. I've worked with them on many big projects, the Warrior Games, the Pro Padel League inaugural season that we're doing right now, and they are just simply the gold standard. But they do small events, they do big events. So if you're thinking about that, go to extravaganzaproductions.com, extravaganzaproductions.com, and tell them JP sent you. All right, let's bring in from Athlon Sports, longtime journalist covering the Buccaneers and many other teams in the NFL, Luke Easterling, joining us here. What's up, Luke? How are you, my friend?
Doing great, JP. How are you guys today?
We are great. Nick saw your article, and I've read it as well, on why. Let me get the title here perfectly because I'm looking at it. Why Baker Mayfield's Bucs can be better than Tom Brady's. This is something that we have been talking about for a few months now, and I think you encapsulated it beautifully in your article. So why don't you tell our audience how you see this, because it's obviously not the national narrative that we're seeing at all.
Right. It's not. And if you look at some of the replies to to that article when it goes out, you can tell who lives in the theoretical, world of the NFL and the Bucs, and just, looking at big names and trying to connect dots there, and who actually watched the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play football last year.
Exactly.
Because that was a painful experience for those of us who watched this team closely and followed those teams closely. And you guys know, we know what pain is. We know what pain is with this franchise. We know what bad football looks like. And I made the argument on multiple occasions last year that last year's team was more difficult to watch and more disappointing than going 0-26. And I know a lot of old school people will throw the book at me for that, but an expansion team is supposed to suck.
Right.
That team last year was not supposed to be as bad as they were. And I think when you think about the expectations and the amount of talent they had, even with all the other factors that I'll get into in a second, there was still way too much talent on that team to be that bad. Yep. And it was so every week to know that you were the better team on paper so many times last season, and to watch the product in real time on the field and how bad it was, how disjointed it was, particularly on offense. That was worse to me than losing 26 games in a row, because that team was supposed to be bad. You're supposed to be bad for a while when you first start. And I think that was why it was so hard to watch that team. And so, if you just automatically see right away, and I know that's what the national media is doing. Subtract Tom Brady.
Exactly.
Replace with Baker Mayfield, team automatically gets worse. It's a lot more complicated than that. So when you dig into it, and like you said, I get into this deeply in the article, I kind of broke it into three primary reasons why I think the Bucs can be a better football team with Baker Mayfield at quarterback this year than Tom Brady. And a lot of it has very little to do with those two guys. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's the fact that, first of all, obviously there was health and injuries. All the injury luck that the Bucs had in 2020 on their Super Bowl run was the other side of that karma coin, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Came back to bite them in the ass this time. So, it was a tough year in terms of key injuries from the very beginning, starting with Ryan Jensen. You're missing Shaq Barrett for most of the season, your top pass rusher, and so many different things. So many key guys missed more than one game here and there, and sometimes together and sometimes in the same unit. I know the secondary struggled with that. The offensive line struggled with that, because they didn't just lose Jensen. They lost Aaron Finney in the preseason. There's so many different things that contributed to it health-wise.
And they started Luke Gedeke at left guard, which was also a humongous
Yeah,
mistake.
I mean, and that was just a weird decision that I know. I'm pretty sure if they could go back and do that differently, they definitely would.
Yep.
But the other thing was it is complementary football, and these two things go together. The biggest problem with last year's team was the offensive philosophy, the offensive scheme. And I see a comment here about Brady getting kind of not being a fan of Arians. I disagree with that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Arians, and I don't think it was personal. I think Tom Brady got frustrated with an offensive philosophy and a scheme that refused to adapt, refused to innovate. Those injuries I just mentioned, those offensive line injuries happened before the regular season.
Yeah.
You lost Jensen in training camp, and you lost Stinney in the preseason. And the fact that offense never, over 18 weeks, figured out a way to change what they were doing to account for the fact that you don't have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL anymore, and to basically just expect your 45-year-old quarterback to drop back and throw the ball 40, 50 times a game and that was going to be effective and okay. It just didn't. That's what I think Brady became frustrated with, and rightly so, and which is why Byron Leftwich got fired. And I'm a huge Byron Leftwich fan. I wanted it to work. I rooted for him. I wanted him to be successful. I wanted him to be a head coach. I wanted him to go to Jacksonville. I thought that would be a great fit.
Right.
At the end of the day, it was just an offense that refused to put players in positions to be successful because it banked on them just winning matchups. We're just going to out-talent you. We're just going to be better than you. Everybody's going to win their one-on-ones. We're going to be able to protect for 10 seconds, and we'll just let Brady throw the ball all over the place. And when that didn't happen, changes did not happen. They didn't change the play calling. They didn't use pre-snap motion. They were one of the most effective teams in the NFL in play action and used it one of the least.
Yeah.
Like the numbers just didn't match up. So it was so frustrating to watch. So in terms of projecting why this team can be better in the future, it's because now you have an offense. Now you have an offensive scheme that is the complete opposite. We go from vertical heavy to horizontal heavy, where you're going to stretch teams with play action, with boots, with zone runs, with crossers, with pre-snap motion to get defenders displaced at the snap. There's so many different things that, again, I hate saying things like this in the season because everybody who's not a coach wants to think they can be, and I completely understand that. But there were so many things that were really obvious and seemed really simple that when the Bucs did them, rarely they worked.
Yeah.
And you just wonder why they didn't keep doing them. So it's just one of those things where I think the changes schematically on offense, philosophically on offense, are going to be such a breath of fresh air and going to make the offensive players' jobs so much easier. Instead of putting so much pressure on Brady, so much pressure on these guys to win their matchups. It's going to be a lot easier for them to be schemed open to the point where it's just going to be refreshing, I think, for a lot of Bucs fans. And again, anybody who reads that article and thinks, there's no way you can be better with Baker Mayfield instead of Tom Brady, it's why this game is such a great team sport.
Exactly.
Because I think those big picture and holistic changes that are going to happen on that side of the ball, and that's the third point I brought up in the article, is it affected the defense in such a bad way last year. And I thought the Cowboys game was the perfect cherry on top of that, because go back and look at the first two drives of that Cowboys game, and the Bucs defense was here to play. The Bucs defense came to play playoff football that night. And when they saw two starting possessions from their offense that were absolute hot garbage, like they had been for 90% of the season, and they saw that again, at the biggest stage and the biggest moment, that they showed up and that offense didn't, they lost it. They lost all the mojo. They lost all the energy and the momentum and the fire that they brought. And that's when the defense started to falter, when they saw that they brought their game and the offense didn't. That was the whole season. It was like that. So I think balancing the offense, staying on the field, having some sustained drives with this new offensive scheme is going to do wonders for the defense. And I think we're just going to see a much more complete, much more fresh, and much more innovative team in every way this season.
And you're right. We spent so much time talking about the quarterbacks and all those things, and Brady to Mayfield, but where do you think kind of the running game kind of factors in this? Because we saw it last year when they ran the ball and they committed to it, and I think that's what Canales said. It's like, it's not they didn't run the ball, they didn't commit to it. And when they ran for over 100 yards last year, more than often not, they picked up a W. So where do you think that fits into what they're going to want to do? And Rachaad White, obviously, can he be a special player like a lot of people think he has the potential to be?
I definitely think Rashad can be a special player. I think that, even in an era of where the franchise running back, right, the feature back is kind of a dying breed. Actions speak louder than words. Look at what the Bucs didn't do this offseason. What did the Bucs not do? They did not invest premium resources in the running back position. That tells me that they think Rachaad White is the guy, and they're going to treat him as the guy until further notice. They didn't draft a running back at all, not even on day 3. You know what I mean? So they brought in Chase Edmonds to be kind of the backup change of pace guy, the cheap veteran guy. They still got Keyshawn Vaughn. I think Sean Tucker is the second best running back on this team already, the undrafted free agent. I'm a huge fan of his coming out of Syracuse. I know he's got a little bit of a heart issue that I think they're trying to make sure he's going to be okay so that he can be healthy and safe on the field. But I think they have enough depth-wise, and all of those actions say, hey, Rachaad White is the guy. He's going to get 20, 25 touches a game. We understand he can play on all 3 downs, and we're going to take advantage of that. And I know that Canales was asked about this at the intro presser. He was on the other sideline in Munich when Rachaad White had that breakout performance against the Seahawks. So I think he saw firsthand, hey, this guy's going to do well in my system. I'm going to put him in position to be a featured back and to make the most of those skill sets. But like you said, it's more philosophical. And you mentioned Pewter Report earlier, and obviously Scott has said a lot of things and said them through the season about what was going on behind the scenes philosophically between Todd and Byron and maybe even Harold Goodwin and some of the other guys on the staff that didn't understand why the running game was not invested in, why the running game was not prioritized, why the running game was completely given up on so many occasions early in games. And I think that's what led to the biggest part of the disconnect on the sideline was, I think, between a defensive head coach and a set of defensive coaches that were frustrated with the fact that their units going on the field over and over and over and over again because they can't sustain drives, because teams are just sitting back and knowing they're probably just going to sling the ball all day long, and we're just going to sit back and wait for these same boring vertical routes and curls and comebacks over and over and over again and sitting on stuff. And that's what they did. And again, to kind of piggyback off of Scott's reporting, he said basically even Harold Goodwin and some of the other offensive coaches are like, hey, run the damn ball. Right. Let's at least try to put in some of these basic concepts that are going to work. And I think Rick Stroud at the Tampa Bay Times alluded to this as well, that there was just a disconnect philosophically with why aren't we even trying to do this? Mm-hmm. And I think that was the big thing that led to the change on offense, is that we've got to be of one mind. We've got to try to balance this and at least try to stay committed to it to the point where we don't hang our offense out to dry in the passing game because they're just sitting on that stuff, and hang our defense out to dry because there's so many 3-and-outs. There's so many quick 3-and-outs because you're throwing the ball. You're not even taking time off the clock. Right. And I think that was, again, a big philosophical disconnect that hopefully will be mended with kind of the complete 180 that they're doing scheme-wise on offense.
Luke Easterling joining us here from Athlon Sports. And, Luke, it's funny. I agree with everything you said. It's why I keep just nodding my head. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. All of this stuff is stuff that we've talked about. And I love the fact that the national narrative is what it is, and that's fine. Let them think that way. It doesn't win any games for you anyway, or lose any games, what the national media thinks. But there's something I like to call Dallas to Dallas when I look back at this season. And this is the reason I'm asking it, is because this is why I think this roster is good enough to win 9-10 games. The coaching staff scares the hell out of me because you look at that team that took on Dallas in week 1. They kicked their ass. It wasn't even close. It wasn't. I was at that game. That was an ass whooping up and down. And the Bucs ran the football. They threw the football. They played great defense. They got turnover. They did everything they needed to knock Dak out of the game. They were fantastic. That was the team that we saw in 2021. And then that team at the end of the year, Dallas to Dallas, was a shell. And it wasn't just because, Shaq was out and they lost a couple people. I get it. Ryan Jensen didn't play in that first game either, right? So Dallas to Dallas, this team got worse all season long. Everything they did, they got worse, because what happens during an NFL season? People get tape on you. They see what you're doing. And if you're not reinventing yourself or, and thinking one step ahead of everybody else, they know what you're going to do. We're going to do this. This is the way good coaching staffs work throughout the league. They get better as the year goes on. And this staff did not. This staff was outcoached, I think, every game I ever saw after the Dallas game, to be quite honest, except maybe Seattle. And that's concerning to me. I love Todd Bowles as a human being, but clearly there was a lack of accountability. Players, kept making the same mistakes over and over again. So, what is your take on this coaching staff? And obviously, there's a lot of new blood on the offensive side, but the defensive side is pretty much the same. So, where do you come down on this coaching staff?
Yeah, I think the jury's still out, right? I think that what I'm hoping to find out this season is that the biggest problems were on offense, and that we can actually see a Todd Bowles defense that can get back to somewhere closer to what they were in 2020. But as a head coach, I think, unfortunately, again, same thing with Leftwich. I'm pulling for Todd. I'm rooting for Todd. I want him to be successful. And you guys know this. I'm from this area. This is my team. I want them to win games. But the realist in me and the results that we've seen on the field going back to the Jets days, and obviously there are mitigating circumstances there as well, with the quarterback situations that he dealt with. But when you look at Todd's game day decision making, the crunch time decisions, go back to the timeout usage and the clock management. In so many of these games, Cleveland stands out to me right away. They don't lose that game. I don't think if the head coach doesn't kind of fumble the bag in terms of those decisions.
Agreed.
And so that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that maybe if the offense gets its what together this season and balances things out, maybe takes some pressure off of the defense and off of what he's doing, maybe he can finally turn that corner. The problem is at this point, we've got so many seasons now. We've got, his time in New York and a season in the Bucs system where the same problems continue to happen with that game day management. So I don't know. I try to be cautiously optimistic that he can turn it around and that he can be the guy. But I'll have to see it to believe it at this point. I'm just hoping that the changes on offense can mitigate some of that and maybe can free Todd up to make better decisions. And maybe it comes down to having somebody else in on the headset, somebody else who can help make those decisions and do those types, especially if Todd's going to stay on the headset as the defensive play caller. Delegate, go talk to Jason Light about how much better he got at his job because he learned how to delegate to people who do other things well. He'll talk about that all day long. Maybe this is an opportunity for Todd to do that. If he wants to keep the play calling duties, he's got to find a way to still be better at the CEO level stuff. He's got to be better at the big picture stuff that a head coach has got to get right, because all the other stuff doesn't matter if in the clutch critical moments, clock management, timeout management, decision making, play calling, all of those things come down to snap decisions. He's got to be able to win in those moments, and he just hasn't done it yet.
And when you look at his unit, I know you mentioned that a lot of it came down to the fact that the offense just couldn't do their part and the defense was getting worn down and they had to keep going back out there over and over. And I understand all that, but I still thought the defense last year, honestly, were a bit of posers, to be honest, because I thought when they got in the big games, and more often than not against the really good teams, they kind of just disappeared. And we saw the same kind of mental mistakes early in the season. We saw late in the season, and Todd Bowles, saying that these were day one installs with the secondary, with the lapses in coverage and things like that. Where do you think, in particular, for this defense, which I think if they're going to be a team that can compete for a playoff spot, the defense is probably going to have to lead the way and get back to what they were the 2 years prior. So where do you see them making the most improvement? Is it the two corners that have to figure out a way to pick off the ball more? Is it Winfield moving back to his natural spot? How do you see that shaking out?
Yeah, well, again, I mean, it's a team sport, and all of those levels of a defense have to work in tandem, right? We talk about, the chicken and the egg situation about coverage versus pass rush. That debate doesn't matter to me. You've got to do it all. You've got to start closest to the ball, which means you got to stop the run. You got to get after the passer. If you can't do those things, nothing else that happens in the back seven is going to matter. So if you're rushing the passer and you're defending the run well, that allows your linebackers to move freely. It frees them up to make tackles. Now, when those opportunities happen, you can't miss tackles. You've got to do your job at that point because the guys in front of you have done yours. And again, back four, it's the same thing. Back five, whatever, your secondary, when they get their opportunities because their teammates are doing their job, you can't just get your hands on the ball. You got to pick it off. You can't just pick it off. You got to take it for six. You've got to make the most of every opportunity. And I guess what I'll say for this defense going in this year is especially if we see the offensive improvements that we're hoping and expecting, no more excuses. This is it. This is Todd Bowles and this defense's last opportunity with no excuse for why they should be unsuccessful because they've had way too much time in this defense. Go look at the starting group that we're expecting to see from this group. And there's so many guys that have been in this defense for 3 or 4 seasons that I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear, oh, this is day one install. For some of these guys, it's day one install from 4 years ago. So I don't want to hear the mental lapses in coverage. I don't want to hear the technique problems and the missed tackles. This is all very basic, fundamental stuff that for guys that have been in the same scheme for 3 or 4 years, there's no excuse for those mistakes anymore. And so it really is put up or shut up time on that side of the ball. Again, especially if we see the offensive improvements, the defense has got to be closer to the playoff 2020 defense over the entire regular season. Because even for much of that season, they weren't that unit yet, right? They really turned it on in that postseason. So, again, this is the put up or shut up season for Todd Bowles as a head coach. I think it's that way for his unit on that side of the ball. Just no more excuses. They've got to get the job done.
Yeah, they've invested heavily in that defense, and they have to produce. All right, Luke, last thing, we'll get you out of here on this, and you could take a quick stab at this question, or maybe you can go back in the lab, and it might be something you want to develop a full piece on, because I'd love to get to your long-form take on this. So we're doing something we call the Super Bowl game plan for the Bucs. In other words, we're looking at the bones of this team right now, what's available, what they have here, what they've done in this draft, and projecting, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, if they're going to get back to the Super Bowl, how do they do it? And are there pieces here that they can lead that way? I talked about Kalijah Kancey has to become a Pro Bowl player, and he and Vita Vea have to be a great tandem moving forward. Rashad White has to be a top 5 to 7 producing running back in this league. I don't necessarily think they have their head coach yet or their quarterback yet that's going to be that guy 3-4 years down the line. So if you were going to look at the bones of this team, what we have now, the pieces, and like I said, some of these 5th rounders have to hit. Some of these 6th rounders have to hit. Trey Palmer may have to become a very integral part. Is he able to do that? Is Servassier Dennis a guy that's going to take over in the middle and be a Pro Bowl performer? Because it's my feeling that to win a Super Bowl, you got to have at least 9, 10, 11 guys that were what I call are Pro Bowl players or plus players, where they're winning 75 to 80% of their reps against their competition. So with all that said, do you think that the Bucs have some good bones to this team right now where they could be back in the Super Bowl in, say, 3-4 years?
I do. I do think the bones are there at certain positions. Some of those are premium positions. Obviously, the first name that jumps out to me is Tristan Wirfs. The second one is Antoine Winfield Jr. I think those two guys, and I think we'll see that soon with financial rewards, right? I think both of those guys are going to get very nice, very well-deserved long-term contract extensions. And I think Vita's already there. He's under contract through 2026 with a nice new deal. That's looking more economical by the day as we see some of these other nose tackles sign their extensions. But I think those three guys, you're getting into the 26, 27-year-old range. I think Chris Godwin, obviously, if he's back to full strength, I think he's in that batch as well. I think the tough part is that what this team is going to need to get back there, and obviously the two most important things you already mentioned. We don't know if the head coach is there. We don't know if the quarterback is there. So without those two things being kind of concrete, the rest of it might not matter, and we've seen that play out so many times throughout the league. But I think the big one for me outside of those two things is the leadership and experience that this team is likely to lose over the next 2 to 3 seasons. You're talking about Levante David. You're talking about Mike Evans, maybe. I know he's still only 29. He's been on this team for a decade now, but he was drafted when he was 20 years old. So he's 29. I mean, he might still be playing on this team, and I think that would be critical and key to have experience and leadership in that locker room. Because honestly, I still don't think Bucs fans, maybe some Bucs fans do, but I don't think enough Bucs fans appreciate what that locker room lost in terms of veteran experience and leadership with the loss of Rob Gronkowski, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Ndamukong Suh. Those three guys in particular, not being in that locker room, not being on that sideline, I think had a lot to do with the massive drop-off that we saw overall from this team. And I just don't think that gets enough credit, to be honest. So I think moving forward, if you're talking about a team that's got to get to the Super Bowl, they're going to lose some of that they still have, and they're going to have to replace that in big ways. And some of that's hard to replicate because Mike and Levante have been here forever. They have been embedded in this franchise. That stuff doesn't just materialize out of thin air over 2 or 3 seasons. So they're going to have guys that have been in that locker room for a while that step up and become those leaders. They're going to have to find the quarterback. They're going to have to find the head coach. I honestly think the Rachaad White thing, and I love Rachaad White, I think that's kind of a cherry on top. That's like the icing on the cake kind of thing. I don't even think he needs to be a top 5 running back for them to get back to the Super Bowl. I think he can be, and I think it would definitely be helpful. But I think if you do a lot of other things, you can get by with a little bit less at that position. If you have, and I think Seattle's a great example. They've done it with different guys. Chris Carson was a 6th-round pick, 7th-round pick, and became a guy that can be effective. You can find that. Obviously, I hope he becomes that guy because it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
There's some really nice bones here. Again, without the head coach being a sure thing, without the quarterback being a sure thing, it's still a shot in the dark.
Exactly.
And I do think that the attrition on the back end of the age part of the roster, the experience, and I think Bucs fans might find out how spoiled we have been with guys like Levante David on defense and Mike Evans on offense, who have lifelong, career-long captains and leaders and superstars in this league to kind of lead that locker room. Those guys don't grow on trees. It doesn't happen very often that you have one guy on either side of the ball that can kind of be pillars of an entire era, and that's going to be really hard to replicate.
Agreed. Great stuff, Luke. I think we're all in the same wavelength here. So go check out his latest article there on Athlon Sports, and give the folks all the places they can find you and what content you got going on.
Yeah, again, athlonsports.com. You can find all our stuff. I'm on social media, on Twitter at Luke Easterling, and then at Athlon Sports if you want to just catch all our stuff. We got a lot of great. I know you guys were talking NBA earlier. We got a lot of great NBA stuff on Athlon right now because I know that's what is buzzing for a lot of people. But we still got a lot of great analysis and off-season stuff for the NFL. So yeah, we're trying to catch all the sports there. It's underrated sports time right now. We got the playoffs in multiple sports. The World Series are happening in college. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. So we're trying to hit on all of it over there at Athlon for you guys.
Good stuff, my man. Thanks, Luke. Appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure, guys. Take care.
Yeah, we're totally on the same wavelength here with Luke, and it just goes to show you again. We're not saying the Bucs are going to win the Super Bowl because you don't have the 2 most important pieces right now, and that's head coach and quarterback.
I think I've mentioned this before. Like, the most important positions, the premium positions that you need to have in order to be one of the top teams in the NFL, the Bucs have questions, I'd argue, at every single one of them. And that's, you throw head coach in there, right?
Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes.
You throw quarterback in there in particular.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was going to have to say left tackle, but we're assuming Tristan Wirfs is going to move over there, and it's going to be a seamless transition. We're not betting against him, right?
Right.
Edge rusher is a massive question mark for me because I don't know what we're getting out of Shaq Barrett, and I have a lot of uncertainties in the 3 guys behind him in Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, Diaby, and Anthony Nelson, right? And then in the back end, impact corners, you have 2 really good cover corners, like 2 of the best in the league. But they're not ball hawks.
Right.
So are they really in the upper echelon of cornerbacks in the NFL? I'd argue not, even though they're paid like it. So that's kind of when you look at it like that. I'm not saying it's grim by any means because there's still good players there. It's just not the top of the top that I think you need to become that team.
When you look at the past Super Bowl champions, right, you go, okay, so quarterback, head coach, Mahomes, Andy Reid. 2 of the last 4 years, right? In between that, Sean McVay, young, hot coordinator coming up. What was it? That his 4th year as a head coach that he won it? And where did they go get their quarterback? Matthew Stafford. They went and got him. So, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone you draft.
Yep.
You could.
And the other team that you can mention in there did the same thing.
Joe Burrow. But they drafted.
Well, I was going to say the Brady Arians, obviously.
Yeah, Brady Arians, exactly. That's following that same model. And then, but you look at. I also like to look at the losers in the Super Bowl because sometimes they're just a couple plays away from being Super Bowl champions, and we change the whole narrative. But you look at Cincinnati. They draft a quarterback in Joe Burrow, who was phenomenal, and they get a young up and coming coach, a young coordinator. That's why I think that might be the way the Bucs go. And who's that quarterback? Who could that quarterback be? Is it a free agent that comes over? Baker Mayfield. I don't know. I'm not saying Matthew Stafford put up a lot of big numbers in this league, but he was always considered what? Not a winner.
Yeah.
right? That was my take on Matthew Stafford. I didn't think he was a great enough leader, but when you got a coach that's charismatic, that can fill that void, and you got a defensive leader like Aaron Donald, good things come together. So it's a lot of people can say, Baker Mayfield's never going to do it. You're probably right, because most quarterbacks don't. If I'm betting, will Baker Mayfield ever win a Super Bowl? I'm going to bet no 10 times out of 10, just because of the probability of it. But to say he can't do it would be to say, well, everybody has said Jalen Hurts would never make it to a Super Bowl.
But even read off, go beyond the last 4 years. Read off the list of quarterbacks for those teams that have won.
Okay, so Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Nick Foles.
Sticks out like crazy, doesn't it?
Nick Foles and Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl.
But with a tremendously talented roster.
9 to 11 minimum.
And a quarterback who got hot at the right time.
Right.
So I almost throw that one out.
It's an outlier.
I almost throw it out because I don't know if that's happening again.
But that's if everybody that's saying Baker Mayfield will never win a Super Bowl. Anybody say Nick Foles is ever going to win a Super Bowl?
No, but I don't.
Say that?
As much as I like the Bucs roster, more so than others,
close.
it's not Philly 2017.
Not even close.
And then before that, the year was Brady.
Yeah.
And then
Denver, Carolina. That was the Denver.
Denver
defense.
is the other outlier because the Denver roster was tremendously talented, and carried the quarterback. But I think in general, looking at just the last 4 or 5 years and where the league is, because the league has changed so much in the past decade. You see the quarterbacks that exist right now in the league; those are the guys that are dominating. Right now, the conference championship games. I mean, look at this past year.
Yeah.
It seems like there's always one outlier of a team that can get there without high-level quarterback play, and that's San Francisco at the moment. Right? And then you sprinkle around Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes.
If you look at Garoppolo's numbers, well, I mean, there are games where he threw the ball, 14 times.
Correct.
Yeah, in the playoffs. So it's not. There's not one formula, but the thing that is ever present is head coach, quarterback.
The thing that helps them is they are in the NFC, and like I said yesterday, I don't know who the second best quarterback is in the NFC. I don't know how many teams in the NFC have the quarterback-coach connection that you truly need to win a Super Bowl. So I'd think for the next years until the NFC figures something out and we get some more quarterback talent. I mean, 3 of the top 4 that just went in this draft, they all went over to the AFC.
Well,
so it's
who would stick out right now in the NFC? You're not going to name him. The coach-quarterback combination that's second best.
What is it?
It's McVay and Stafford.
Yeah, but
Stafford is healthy.
The problem is the roster has just been gutted. So they're in nowhere near to compete right now.
Right.
So I don't know.
Because why? F the draft picks.
Yeah. Eventually it all catches up to you.
Right.
And injuries kind of killed them as well last year.
Salary cap crushes you because you're effing the draft picks.
Yeah, that's the thing. Outside of Philly, and again, San Francisco.
But the Rams could bounce back.
Maybe, but outside of Philly and San Francisco, because their roster is just so talented, I don't see another team. I think the NFC is so easy to predict right now. Mm-hmm. I don't see any other team in the NFC that has it in them to make a run, and that maybe helps the Bucs out here in the next few years.
There's another team that you don't want to mention.
What's that team?
It's Dallas.
I've seen no. You got a coach. Head coach.
Nobody wants it.
I feel like Mike McCarthy's job status just is on a game-to-game basis. It feels like during the regular season. And
them ditching Kellen
Dak's
Moore.
Not a Super Bowl quarterback.
Ditching Kellen Moore instead of elevating him to head coach
well,
was the dumbest thing they could have done. But that's so Jarrah. It's so Jarrah. Let's put more on Mike McCarthy to help us win. What? Like, that's the dumbest thing ever. Why would you do that? Because you're Jarrah. Yeah, that move to me still just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
A lot of Dallas fans wanted it, though.
You're scoring 40 points a game.
I don't claim to watch every Dallas game, but you look at the box scores all the time, and you're like, oh, the offense looks okay to me.
Yeah,
of what's going on here,
fine.
But
it's fine.
I don't know. Come on, that team. You've seen it the last 25 years, and I know it's unfair to Dallas to compare this team to the ones that have failed before.
Well, listen,
but this current iteration of them has failed.
Their roster is good enough to do it, but all the other stuff that around it makes you crazy.
It's too much noise.
Makes you crazy. Yeah, there's just always noise around it. So, but again, who is that young up and coming coordinator? that the Bucs find, or is there,
It changes year to year. What was Byron Leftwich not seen as the up-and-coming coordinator this time last year? And everybody was shouting at the top of their lungs, how's he not a head coach? How's he not a head coach?
Well, we watched it.
I watched it.
Did I ever believe that this offense was good because Byron Leftwich was making the play calls?
No,
ever. Even when they were going to the Super Bowl, were we like, oh, it's Byron Leftwich that's driving this offense, not Tom Brady or Bruce? No, we never saw that.
But that's how quick it changes, though. Where a year later, Byron Leftwich is out of a job.
But that's national narratives, which, as we have said many, many times, lack a lot of detailed look. And I get it, because you can't cover 32 teams. You just can't.
Yeah.
People from the national, it's very hard. And
also to a lot of these offensive, hot shots that get their opportunity, is it a given that they're always going to pan out?
No.
I mean, look at the guys.
The majority of them fail.
Look at the guys who come through Kansas City all the time and are tied to Andy Reid. And Matt Nagy, how'd that one go?
Yeah.
Right? Adam Gase, how'd that one go? Bieniemy's not a head coach, but we're going to see what he's really made of in Washington this year as the OC.
Right.
Sometimes it's just not that simple.
Yeah. But again, I'm not saying that the Bucs can't do it, but they've got a lot of work to do. To get back to the Super Bowl right now, they've got a lot of key things that they need to identify. There's some good bones here, but it's nothing until I see this draft class. This draft class has a chance to be special. I just see a lot of really hidden talents in there at this draft class, and that's what you got to have a draft class like. If you're gonna win a Super Bowl, you can always go back. You go back to the Bucs draft class. That got them Wirfs and Antoine Winfield.
Mm-hmm.
That was huge. That was a huge draft class that put them over the top to win a Super Bowl.
And the 1 in 18 kind of gave them the pieces.
Yes.
By the time we got to that year, they were in year 3, all of them, and they were all regular contributors.
Yeah. So, this draft class, if they're going to do it, you're going to look back at this draft class and say, wow, we got 5 starters and 2 Pro Bowlers in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it's going to happen. Is it going to happen? Chances are no. But there's a little bit of something there. I think Kancey can be an outstanding player in this league. And I think Diaby has a chance to be a really good player. Long way to go, but he's got the physical tools.
Yeah, they've given themselves a chance because they've drafted a lot of athletes
and
in this class
and
added
quality
speed.
people too. And Servassier Dennis has a chance to be a really good, I don't want to go Sam Mills because he's a Hall of Famer, but a really good long-term. I put him in a Levante category.
Well, you're banking on his name carrying him all the way through. Let's be honest.
I hope so.
With a name like that, you can't fail.
We want him to be here around for 11, 12 years. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side and get to a couple other things. Some college football-related news from the SEC. A lot of talk about the portal right now.
Yep.
We have a Taylor Swift story that we have to pass on.
Unfortunately, we have to pass it on.
I wonder if Aaron Rodgers is associated with this in any way.
Oh, my goodness.
He's
perfect.
His dancing at the Taylor Swift concert was outstanding.
And we'll also set up the Rays as well. 4-game set against Boston.
Glass now going tonight. Stay with us. Coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz, the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com.
During COVID, over 1.7 million people were added to the Florida Medicaid rolls, but as of April 1st, 2023, most of these people may not be eligible for the Medicaid coverage and will lose their health plan. If you have been notified you are losing your coverage, don't freak out. It's very likely you can apply for a federal subsidy under the Affordable Care Act. Just call 877-652-0244. Our representatives will walk you through the whole process, get some basic information on your income, number of kids, and then they'll find a plan that best fits your needs. In fact, with the new laws, 90% of Americans qualify for reduced or free health care. You can select great plans like Florida Blue, that's my carrier, love them, paying $800 left after making the call. 877-652-0244. Our highly trained professionals know all the intricacies of the new laws. They will do all the work. You save tons of money. So if you're being dropped from Medicaid, fear not. Call 877-652-0244. Get real health insurance, free doctor visits, free blood work, no deductibles. 877-652-0244.
Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa, and for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Let's rock.
This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. We're brought to you by the great folks at Italiano Insurance. If you are looking to find cheaper homeowners insurance, I know it's expensive, but you might as well let them shop it around for you. Because, if you've stayed with the same insurance company for a long time, they tick it up every year, a little bit here, a little bit there. So you never know what other companies are charging. So just let them do the work for you. 813-877-7799. Or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. A real human being will answer the phone and tell them you want to shop around your homeowner's insurance. Make sure you're getting all the discounts that you deserve, things that you've done with your house in terms of security systems, cages for your pool, any upgrades you've made to your home. You can save money on your homeowner's insurance if you notify them. So there's a lot there. Just give them a call, and they can do all your insurance too. They can shop your homeowner's insurance, your auto insurance, life insurance, any insurance, disabilities, business insurance. Let them shop it all and see how much they can save you. 813-877-7799. Wanted to get into a couple comments here. What else? Maybe we'll not get into all that stuff. We'll just move on from the Bucs stuff, and we'll talk about some of the other stuff that's going on. FSU women last night behind Kat Sandercock again win 8-0 at the College World Series, so they advance out of their first game, which 90% of the champions win their first game at the College World Series. It's almost impossible to come back through the losers bracket, although it's been done a couple times in the last few years. It's a really, really tough task. And FSU, I think they were the number 2 seed out there, so they're very much in the hunt to win a national championship. The Gators just won a national championship in golf, beat FSU in the semifinals. By the way, you might say FSU choked that one away if you were watching any of that, but give the Gators their applause, no question about that. So a lot of national champions being won in the state of Florida, and the NHL starts tonight.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night?
Stanley Cup final, which the national media has dumped all over this one too.
Yeah.
This matchup, because Vegas and Florida or Miami. I mean, these are not national markets for the hockey for the NHL. So,
I think it's going to be a fun series to watch.
but I think it's very intriguing.
Yeah.
Vegas has been that kind of wire-to-wire team in the West that I don't think it's enough. Pub maybe is the word I'm looking for. I feel like as for a 1 seed in the West, they feel like they've gone kind of untalked about it, if that's possible. And then you have Florida with Matt Tkachuk and the run that they're on. Great story there. Bobrovsky in net. We're looking at Jonathan Marchessault, obviously, from a former Lightning standpoint, and Gudas as well. Two guys who got their start in the league here. Carter Verhaeghe, so some Lightning influence there. We got our Panthers caps on, our proverbial ones, obviously.
Do we? I know Ashley's a big Vegas fan. So
that's gross.
Of the city itself. So now she's like a Golden Knights fan.
I can't give any of my fandom to anything in Las Vegas. I just can't. I'll stick with the team that's kind of local.
I think I'm going to be rooting for the Panthers. I think I am going to be rooting for the Panthers for the most part. I have a little soft spot for Vegas. I don't know why. I kind of they're kind of a little bit of like an up and coming Lightning franchise. So I see a little bit of us in them, and I'm just genetically.
They've been the most successful franchise.
Predisposed to hate the Panthers?
They've been the most successful franchise other than the Lightning since they entered the league.
Yes.
So they've been kicking at it for a while now.
So we'll see. And we got game 2 of the finals coming up on Sunday evening, which I don't think is going to be much different.
Is that what we're doing now, the 2 days off in between?
That's a lot.
Ugh,
they're dragging the shit
it like that.
Yeah, they just drag it or eat up everything they can that the NFL doesn't eat up. So
really doesn't want to announce that John Morant suspension.
I guess
Damn
not.
It, man.
It's gonna leak out though. You know it's gonna leak out during it. You watch. All right, so the Rays are up in Boston. They got Glasnow going tonight against Garrett Whitlock, who just came off the IL. He's had one start, gave up 1 run in 5 innings pitched for Garrett Whitlock. So the Rays, again at 40 and 18. Mm-hmm. They have the best record in baseball, but why do I just feel like it's just every game and every series is kind of big here? Because, here's Boston. They're 2 games over 500. They're not a bad baseball team. They're playing at home.
Have not been playing well, though.
Yeah.
3-7 their last 10 coming in.
Okay. So, in Glasnow, that's why I'm tuning in tonight. I want to see what he's got. His second start. His first one was pretty good. I thought his first start was good. What do you have, 8 strikeouts?
8 strikeouts, 4 innings.
Yeah. So, not terrible. So I'm interested to see what he looks like in his first road start. And hopefully the Rays get the bats going because Chicago was awful silent for the most part.
Yeah, I think they will come alive in this series. They come alive for the Boston. Again, remember what Boston is, JP? Tell us what they are.
They're our bitch.
They are.
They're our bitch.
Especially, and they
state of Florida's bitch.
They've been that at home for the Rays, where they've won like 12 or 13 in a row, I think, against the Red Sox at home, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
But now they got to go on the road in Fenway, 4-game series. Reminder again, the doubleheader tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that.
Mm-hmm. Is that on Bally's tomorrow too? Both games?
I believe so. Yeah.
It's on Bally's tonight. So I'm back to Spectrum, so I don't have to go because last night I could actually go back and forth from ESPN to the finals game on ABC and watch the Knowles and them. So that was so much easier.
And the other thing too with the Rays, and this is all of baseball, by the way, and I don't know if you're into this much, but All-Star voting opened up a couple days ago.
Saw that.
I've already started putting my ballots in and constructing it. Now I'm not one of those fans that's going to go and just spam Rays players every position, right?
Mm-hmm.
I try to do it straight up. And I think I'm even being objective. I got Wander Franco and I got Yandy Diaz. Wander's in there obviously at shortstop. Yandy is on the ballot for first base. I think both of those guys, I think they have a strong chance to hopefully be starters.
Yeah, but
in this All-Star game.
Rizzo's going to get most of the votes at first.
And Rizzo, honestly, when I look at the first baseman in the AL, because they put the numbers right there next to it, the only guy that even comes close to Yandy's numbers is Rizzo.
Yeah.
And we know how Yankees fans are probably going to spam that.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a scenario, but Wander Franco deserves it. He leads all of Major League Baseball in WAR, by the way. I think he's at like a 3.5 WAR already.
Who is?
Wander Franco.
Is he really?
Leads all of baseball. His defensive metrics have been outstanding. Don't be surprised if he wins a Gold Glove this year for what he's done.
Well, yeah, that wouldn't shock me.
Wouldn't shock me.
What about a Rosarena?
I think he's got a good shot. I mean, Rosarena, I think, is the most well-known player on the Rays.
Because of the World Baseball Classic.
He might get the international vote, absolutely. So I think he'd have a shot. And just looking at All-Stars, I think you throw those 3 in there should be locks. McClanahan, I think you got 4 All-Stars right there that should be locks. Would you agree?
Yeah. But McClanahan should get to start again. Second straight year he should be starting the All-Star game, which puts him in very, very
elite company.
Absolutely.
And the other one that I think is deserving of being an all-star, although I think that he might get shortchanged, is Josh Lowe. I looked at the outfield kind of competition there. I was trying to find a way not to put him in the starters, honestly.
Right.
Because his numbers are there.
They are.
They're absolutely there, but he's one of those guys where unfortunately, he doesn't play every day. He's almost like a platoon guy that the Rays kind of use. He doesn't really play much against lefties. And I know that all-star voters, and they kind of look at those things. They want to see everyday players in there, but his numbers are there. And I think it'd be really cool if he's the 5th all-star. But I think right now you got 4 and maybe a 5th with him.
Going back to 08, how many all-stars did we have? I think we had maybe 4.
09 is the year the Rays had the most.
Longo, Pena.
They had Longo.
Shields.
No, it was Longo, Pena. Carl Crawford was there. That was the year that Ben Zobrist hit 28 home runs, I want to say is what it was, and he was in there. And there was one more that I know I'm missing right now.
The Price? Shields?
It might have been Price. It might have been Shield. I know it's one of those pitchers I think had gotten in.
Yeah.
But I know they had 5 that year in 2009.
So go vote. Vote early and often. This election, you're actually allowed to vote more time. Dalvin Cook could become a free agent today. The report is that he wants to play for either Miami, his hometown team, or the Buffalo Bills.
With his brother.
Yeah.
That'd be a cool story.
Not the Bucs? You don't want to come play for the Bucs?
We want to right that ship from 2017.
And we should have taken him then. I begged you to take him then. Who did we take? We took
O.J. Howard.
O.J. Howard. Jiminy Christmas. Kidding me? And we still could have jumped up and got him in the second round. We didn't do that either.
No, we did not.
Knuckleheads.
No, we did not. But
Knuckleheads.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be moved though.
Yep. Because they got to go pay Justin Jefferson and a few more guys. So yeah, that's definitely happening.
I got to get to the Taylor Swift story. It's the end of the show, so let's bring it up.
This is unbelievable. Actually, it's not unbelievable.
It's totally believable, honestly, for you knuckleheads out there that have put this girl on a pedestal as like the greatest artist of all time, including you over there. But I'm talking to you as well.
I didn't say she was the greatest artist. I just said I like her music. I'm a Swiftie. It's a connection for me and my daughter.
You are. That's okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'll ease off then.
Yeah, come on. Trash that, jerk.
I'll just trash my own wife then.
Yeah. But not.
For the lengths that she'll go through to see Taylor Swift in concert.
Yeah. But these people.
Yeah, you got people literally now, the Swifties, that are wearing adult diapers. Adult diapers to the concert because they're so concerned with missing a song. And they don't want to get up out of their seat and miss anything.
Not one song.
Have to be there.
I'm here to tell you, I went to the concert. There's plenty of those songs that you can go use the bathroom. I'll even say that. But they're wearing adult underwear. So they're going to piss themselves so they can hear Champagne Problems.
Apparently, yeah.
Ladies. And the picture of these ladies that are doing it, holding the diapers, I'm like, they seem to be well-to-do. Well, you have to be well-to-do in some
to get those tickets.
To get those tickets. So these are women that would normally not, I would say, piss themselves, that are going to put on a diaper and consciously go to the bathroom on themselves so they don't miss hours. Come on. What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people?
It's literally a TikTok trend. I'm reading the article here. It's a TikTok trend of these girls like showing themselves like putting on the adult diapers for whatever reason.
You people, you'll do anything for a TikTok. By the way, those aren't real likes, people. They're not real likes. You're not getting 1 million likes for that.
Well, if you're in need of
an algorithm.
If you're in need of it here, the article tells you can get an 18 count for $29.99 on Amazon. You get plenty of adult diapers.
Remember the lady that was so obsessed with her astronaut boyfriend that she drove from Houston to Cape Canaveral, didn't stop, and wore adult diapers the whole way because she didn't want to stop. Because she was thought it was like cheating on her. So, yeah, true story. Look it up. Drove across country didn't want to stop, bought adult diapers and pissed herself the whole way.
I just don't understand. Like, you would admit, like, even like, who's your favorite artist of all time?
By the way, I don't hear any men doing this. By the way,
No, I please. No, but seriously though, who's your favorite artist of all time?
Well, it used to be Springsteen for many years, so I'll say, yeah, Springsteen. Yeah, for the most part.
Okay, and what percentage of songs does he have out that you'd say you don't like?
Oh God, anything after 1982, probably.
So that's covering, it seems like, a large amount of his years, right?
Most everything I would listen to, Bruce, is probably pre 85.
Well,
yeah.
my point is, it's like I love George Strait.
Right.
Like, I have a large George Strait list, and when I go or playlist, when I go through it, you think I'm not abusing the skip button on there?
Yeah, of course.
Like, doesn't everybody have that?
Yeah.
That's my thing. The Taylor Swift people act like every song she has is like an absolute banger.
Not true. Not true. And most of her stuff that I like is old stuff that that me and my daughter connected with. A lot of the new stuff, the pop stuff, is god awful. A lot of
I
it.
thought that. Listen, I gave this last album a chance because everybody was talking about it.
Folklore was a really good album.
I don't.
This
I
last
just didn't
album,
get it.
yeah,
I
my
did
daughter.
not get it.
There's like 3 songs on it that I like. The rest of them, All right, we'll be back on Monday with more fun and frivolity. Don't forget, if you want to come out and watch us at the Pro Padel League, we will be out there watching that pickleball on steroids. It's incredible action. It's out at Zephyr Hills, the Sarah Vandenberg Complex. Come out and join us. It's free. Really cool deal. Enjoy the Rays this weekend. We'll be back on Monday with more fun. See you then. Have a great weekend, everybody.